Born in South Central LA to a single mother of three, a first-generation American and one of the first to graduate from a college in his family. He went to UC Riverside, where he was elected to be vice president of the student body. As VP, he managed a $4 million budget and was able to advocate for 30,000 students on a variety of issues. But what he found most important was his work on mental health. Jose Cortez is now a director for a mental health nonprofit near and dear to my heart called New Way Out. New Way Out is an organization focused on changing mental health throughout the country. So let's dive a little deeper and see why Jose is a real American game changer. So Jose, you were vice president at UC Riverside. It's a pretty big deal, really big school.
Yeah.
What made you want to become a leader there?
When I got into Riverside, I felt like I didn't really see anyone that kind of adequately represented me, in the sense that there weren't any Latinos in vice president roles. I felt like there wasn't anyone that really represented my type of upbringing, which is I was raised in South Central Los Angeles by my mom and three older sisters after my father had passed away at the age of 3. My mom worked as a caretaker to provide for the 3 of us growing up, and just really instilled on us having very hardworking work ethics, which pushed me to go to university at first, UC Riverside, and then from there, when I got there, I was like, what more can I do? To kind of be a hard worker, and I saw the opportunity arise and gave it a shot, and was fortunately elected to the role.
Nice. How do you think that your upbringing really impacted your philosophy on leadership and how you did, how did growing up affect the way you were a leader on campus?
I feel like my upbringing played a major part during my time at college and even now. So my mom, like I said, she was a caretaker, worked every single day, never complained. Just working very hard to make us feel comfortable and making us feel like, hard work is the least thing you can do or provide into a situation. And on top of that, aside from working hard, she always reminded me and my sisters to always be compassionate to our peers and stuff, always take a moment to take a deep breath and be like, oh, are you okay? Is there anything I can do to help you? And my mom did a really good job of supporting me as a mother and a friend growing up.
Was there ever a moment where those lessons that she taught you, where you had to use them as a leader at Riverside?
Yeah, so I feel like there's a lot of tense situations being involved in student government, but the most tense situations where I feel like I really utilize those teachings were when I was a senator sophomore year. Our student body president didn't meet his quarterly grades for fall quarter, so the Judicial Council was in the process of removing him from serving as student body president winter quarter. And I first outreached him before the process was initiated. I talked to him, and he let me know how during that quarter he had been evicted from his housing for a couple of weeks, making him effectively homeless during the time he was serving as student body president and being a full-time student. And that, to me, kind of was like, dang, that's super. It kind of just made me feel, a little bit empathetic towards the situation. And at the hearing for the Judicial Council, because they have this provision where they can provide an exemption for someone that doesn't make quarterly grades under very extreme circumstances. They ultimately decided that this wasn't a extreme circumstance for a student to face and stripped them of serving in the presidency winter quarter. And I obviously did not agree with their decision and petitioned it. And I ultimately got reprimanded and censored for winter quarter alongside our student body president. But, being there for him and showing him that, I'm a friend that's going to be there for you was more important than anything I could have done that quarter. And I helped him through that quarter get back on his feet, get back on good academic terms. And he came back spring quarter to serve the remainder of his student body presidency term, and still got the opportunity to speak at commencement that year. So I was very happy with the way things played out that year, just being there for him and whatnot. I felt like it's something that probably would have put a smile on my mom's face.
Yeah, it's very tough. I mean, being a student leader, paying for the high tuition rate that's on colleges, And this student was also homeless. That must have been pretty, that must have been tough on his mental health.
Yeah, definitely. That was actually the first time I had seen school colleagues and, family support really have a negative effect on someone's mental health. Like, at that time, that was my first year in student government. And growing up, I feel like I never really struggled with mental health too much just because I always had my mom as a resource. But seeing the student like struggle so hard, I felt like I just wanted to be there for him to provide, you know, very minor support that like I felt like my mom provided me growing up.
So, mental health, it's a pretty big hot topic here in the United States. All across the country, you see spikes and issues happening. As a leader, what did you do in regards to mental health?
Well, following that issue, since that was like the first time I was really exposed to seeing someone like have a mental health breakdown or really struggle with their mental health, as vice president of finance, I was elected vice president of finance following that, very fortunately. And I was the first vice president in our student government's history to put student government funds towards creating a mental health week, which consisted of programming that would raise awareness towards mental health for students on campus and positively impact their mental health during finals week and the week before. And then after that, I was elected as vice president of campus internal affairs and committed even more funds than the previous years to that mental health week. So just I continued like growing that specific event, and I know it was hosted the year after I had graduated as well. Then COVID, hampered things, so it wasn't hosted. And I know they have plans to host it again this year. So I kind of got the ball rolling on at least having like a event that student government hosts like funded to raise awareness on the issue for students on campus, and it always got positive reception.
That's great.
Mhm.
So now that you have moved on, you're out of college, you're no longer the vice president at Riverside. What are you working on now? What are you doing?
Well, now I am the university engagement director for the New Way Out, which is this mental health nonprofit that you probably already know
I know a
about.
little bit about it, yeah.
Um, that centers around raising awareness on mental health at college campuses, and my specific role centers around establishing clubs at universities across the nation and raising awareness on the issue, doing programs. We had a program last year where we brought 3 different mental health professionals to come talk to students, and we're looking towards eventually having our students at these campuses have administration allocate more funds towards mental health resources such as
Mhm.
counselors and programs.
So you have this great organization, New Way Out. You've been doing some amazing things with that. What do you hope to accomplish, in your life? And I know that's very vague, and I know that's kind of a big picture question, but what do you hope that, when it's all said and done, that you have been able to do for yourself, for your community, for our country?
Well, first, right after with New Way Out, I wanted to be established, kind of get to the point where it's like automatic. Everyone knows about mental health awareness, and there's programs like all across the country. And after that, I really want to give back to my community in the sense that so I grew up in an area that's unincorporated, so we don't have like a city council or certain representatives that other counties and districts have. We have a district supervisor that oversees our whole community, and I eventually was thinking, of like running for that role and giving back to my community in the sense of like implementing policy change directly on the area that I grew up. Specifically, like, I mean, the area I grew up, I think only has like 3 or 4 trash cans in the whole city. So something as simple as just, putting more trash cans around the city so people aren't littering as much, or, it's a little bit more um, visually appealing.
Yeah.
And then, if all goes well with that, possibly eyeing even bigger roles like House of Representatives or U.S. Senate. I don't know. I really
Wow.
don't want to count
I
anything
think you
out.
would make a great U.S. House of Representative. Has there ever been anyone as young as you to run or be a part of, leadership in the area you grew up?
None that I know of, because yeah, like the area I grew up is very small, so the people that come out of there, they usually go to like George Washington Preparatory High School, and I believe the most popular person out of there was like an athlete, but no like elected officials. even like Maxine Waters represents my area, but didn't grow up in it. I've never seen her like, stroll through the neighborhood or anything.
So I'm sure there's been people that you have run into that have basically doubted you
hmm
and basically said, "Oh, Jose, maybe you should wait." How have you dealt with some situations like that?
Well, I feel like people that doubt me, I always try and communicate with them like, "Oh, why are you doubtful?" And they'll usually be like, "I don't think it'll succeed because of this and that." And I always take those comments in mind and try and find solutions towards that to address, why people think it won't be successful or get off its feet before, I even start the process. Because I feel like it's much better if you hear the concerns of people, address those concerns, and then, run it rather than running something that isn't completely, touched up on and people complaining about it after the fact.
Well, Jose, thank you so much for coming here. Really appreciate you being here. It's truly inspirational, and I can't wait to see what the future holds.
Well, thank you, Nick, for bringing me on and allowing me to speak a little bit about myself and what I do. And I'm looking forward to the future.
Absolutely.